You gotta understand, Kanan, that how people see you now is how they're gonna see you forever.
I want them to see me as me, not who my mother is.
So we've all now seen the trailer for Raising Kanan Season 4. If you haven't, you're probably living under a rock, because these streets have been after this trailer for a very long time. They finally dropped the trailer on the 11th, and they also dropped a further teaser promo on Stars, which is the hot topic of this breakdown. We're going to be dissecting some of these new teaser scenes which weren't in the official trailer. Some of these scenes do give us a better understanding of what might have happened to Unique. We've got him inside what looks like a phone booth, battered and bruised, and no doubt that's going to be very early on in Season 4. We've also got a few more scenes of him causing absolute mayhem. There's a couple of extra scenes of Rock, Snaps and Pop, as well as Jukebox and Marvin looking like they're in some real trouble. So we're going to take a look at a few of these extra scenes, see if we can tie some together, and generally break down where we are at this moment in time, heading into what will no doubt be a crazy Season 4.
Just think I'm dead.
I'm getting mine. Here I am, turn it over.
I ain't never been more alive.
Now with Unique, in the official trailer we saw him causing chaos for Rock's organization. He was targeting anybody who was working for Rock. That includes Chinese restaurants, a warehouse, and no doubt there are going to be a few more hits. But let's just kind of rewind time. I think we first need answers as to how he survived. In the trailer there wasn't much in terms of kind of how, but in this new teaser we do see a really battered and bruised Unique in a phone booth, probably calling for help. But who could he have called? Based on the official trailer, he's in conversation with Early Tyler, so we can only assume he's called Early Tyler, and that's who could have potentially helped him. Maybe. It does sound plausible. Remember, they need to kind of make this work. They need to make it realistic in terms of how Unique survived. They need to make it make sense, and I do think they will. The writers know that this is a different kind of era, and the most realistic power show out of them all. So I do have faith in Sasha Penn and the writers, that they've made sense in terms of this whole situation with Unique, which judging by the trailer will include Early Tyler. Now when we broke down the trailer we also spoke about how Unique will be on the offensive, targeting Rock's operation, even going to Kanan's apartment. But in this new teaser, it seems like he may even be targeting Rock's lawyer, Andre. Anybody of value to Rock, anybody in her circle around her, Unique is going to be gunning for them. He's going to make her life living hell. I also think he's in conversation with Early Tyler when he says he's going to burn everything down. Judging by the trailer, that's who he could be working with, and that's who could have helped him. But this is a quote from Joey Badass in terms of where he is with his mindset. What people can expect is a way more hyperactive, irritable, just a rageful guy. It's going to be an interesting spin on who this character is, because Unique has been, historically, somebody who's more calculated and smoother with his delivery, and kind of conscious and things like that. But I think this Unique is different. This is Unique like you've never seen him before. So this Unique that we see in the early parts of Season 4, he's going to be full of anger. He's going to see red. And when that generally happens, sometimes you make decisions that you come to regret a bit later on. I'm not saying Unique will regret his actions, but they're definitely going to have consequences for people like Rock. I mean, we only have to look at what happened in Season 1, when they were being targeted by law enforcement and there was this kind of whole back and forth between Rock and Unique. Their old connecting cut off their supply. So when Unique messes with Rock's business, messes with Rock's lawyer, targets Kanan at his apartment, it's going to cause huge consequences for Rock. Now, will the story last for the kind of long term? I personally don't think it will. I do think something will have to give at some point. Unique will have to calm down eventually. Will he go back to being his charismatic and charming self? It really is difficult to say at this moment in time. Can someone really recover from near death? Bone fragments were found on that steel pipe. That's how hard Unique's head was bashed in by Ronnie. Can someone ever be the same again? I don't think they can, but let's wait and see. Now the final one on Unique, just before we move over to the Thomases. Something that sprung to mind when I was watching this new teaser scenes was Panessa. What happens with Unique's relationship with Panessa? If he's not his old charming self, if he's someone who's full of rage and anger, what happens with Panessa? At this moment in time, she doesn't even know he's alive. Unless episode 1 he does reach out to her. Unless it is Panessa on the other end of this call, not Early Tyler. I still do think it is Early Tyler. It's a great way to add in a character we've heard about before. A neighborhood institution. A great person to have in your corner. That's only if you can afford the high financial price of his friendship. But this Panessa question is interesting, and I do think it's one they have to touch on eventually. But let's move on to Marvin and Jukebox. Now, ever since Kenya's introduction, because of Marvin putting in that work to change, adapt, learn, we've seen them build this bond. Marvin put a lot of work in Season 3. But in this scene we've got Marvin and Jukebox in a real hurry to get out of a really sticky position. This scene was really quick, but you can tell that both Marvin and Jukebox are scuffed up pretty bad, more so Marvin than Juke. Now we're not going to speculate as to how they got here because it really is a waste of time. There's no way to tell at this early stage, but one thing we do know for certain, these are two very tough characters. We know Marvin stands on business, he's as tough as they come. And well, Jukebox, this is Marvin's daughter.
One of the baddest motherfuckers we both know. She run these streets harder than some of these men. Love pussy, but ain't got no heart. Jukebox.
She ran the streets harder than some men, so these are two very tough characters who will be able to hold down whatever situation they're put in. Now in season 1, Juke did kinda mention she doesn't fuck with what Marvin's into, and I still don't think she will in season 4. But if and when Marvin needs her, if and when the Thomases need Juke to handle some business, I do think she will step up. And I do think there will come a time, more than once, where she does have to get into the thick of the action herself. Just like we've got in this scene, or just like when we see her eventually pulling the trigger. But that's Marvin and Jukebox, so let's move over to Rock. Now with Rock, in the trailer there was a scene where she was sitting next to Stefano. I said maybe she's got a seat at the table with the top dogs, because this is someone who has always wanted to elevate her game. She's always looking to move up in the streets, build, grow her empire, and I do feel like the next step for Rock would be to become the Connect or have a seat at the table. Just like Felipe Lobos once said in Power, why run the day-to-day operation when you can work twice a year? I think she'll want to put as much distance between herself and the streets as possible, especially following her operation being hit. I think she also knows characters like Snaps and Pop are the blueprint. She may not see eye to eye with them, but the fact that they're retired from the game, and the fact that they're in the position that they're in, I think Rock will be looking at their position and thinking, that's where I want to eventually be in the future, retired, working twice a year. You've still got this power, control, and also respect, but you're kind of untouchable. I feel that's what Rock will want at some point. She even had a plan in place in season 1 where Lou would take over her operation, where she'd then take a back seat. That's when she was living a fantasy with Symphony. So let's see how it all works out for Rock. Now we've also got her opening the door to a few men. It's difficult to tell who they are. Maybe there's some Italians summoning her for a meeting. They could be law enforcement. They could be here to give Rock some news. Who knows? There's not too much to kind of go on, but those are some early thoughts just to keep in mind. Now there was also another scene with Kanan and Crystal. They're at his apartment getting real close, and it is going to be interesting to see which direction they take this relationship. We know Crystal's pregnant, so what happens next? Does she keep her baby? Will the writers retcon the storyline and make her Sean's mother? Could we see another tragedy? We know Power aren't afraid to spin this in whatever way they want. Maybe even an abortion, who knows? I think those are all the avenues the writers could possibly take when it comes to Crystal's pregnancy. Now aside from her pregnancy, I'm sure Crystal won't be Kanan's only love interest. He's still very young, and even though we have them getting real close in this particular scene, I wouldn't be surprised if there are a few more bumpy roads, where he could then possibly meet Jarita later on. I really do hope there is some continuity here with Power, and they do bring her into the storyline. I do think Sasha Penn is someone who looks at all the fine details, and I remember watching one of his interviews where he actually mentioned that he's well aware of the history, and also what's been said in Power. So just like us, I'm sure they've revisited Power many times, looked at all of the conversations, storylines, how they spoke about certain relationships. So let's wait and see. I do think eventually they will bring in a younger Jarita. Now there was also another few scenes with Kanan and the janitor, something we saw in the original teaser that was released back in October 2024. And a huge takeaway from that trailer, a huge takeaway from this promo, and all the other kind of promos they've done so far, Kanan is the man at the center of the storm. I think this is the time where he turns from a pup into a wolf, and we are going to see a lot more from him in season 4, no doubt. I do still think he's going to have to go through a steep learning curve, and we've got people like Snaps and Pop mentoring him. I do think he will need to be mentored in some aspects, because like I said before with Rock, she's always learning. The learning just never stops. So I do think he will need some mentorship and guidance, but this is a coming of age story for Kanan Stark, and as we're getting to the business end of the series with seasons 4 and 5, it's time to turn up the heat. But that's a breakdown of a few additional scenes from the new Stars promo, which hopefully pieces the puzzle together for a few more storylines and character arcs. With that being said, drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section and let me know your early predictions and also death predictions. After watching the trailer for season 4, I have kind of changed my notes that I originally planned for my mega predictions pack, which I definitely will get to working on straight after this. But drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.